In today's video, I want to take a look at some NHL trade rumors, one of which we might actually see happen here in the short term, which would be the Carolina Hurricanes possibly trading prospect defenseman Adam Fox. And I also want to take a look at the possibility of some guys like Kyle Turris and Chris Kreider being traded during the offseason. We'll get into all the latest coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, we have some trade rumors to discuss here today, and I want to get started with Adam Fox and the Carolina Hurricanes. Now he has the option of returning to Harvard and completing his senior year of U.S. college hockey, or he could very well sign with the Hurricanes or another NHL club here now that his junior season has come to a close here. But apparently he has informed the Carolina Hurricanes that he would rather be traded rather than sign with them, and he's still possibly weighing the option of returning back to Harvard. That's not exactly clear as of yet, but the one thing that appears to be clear is that he doesn't want to play in Carolina. Not to say anything bad about the franchise, but obviously based on their defensive depth, I can understand why he's going to want an opportunity here in the short term, likely get into some games, and possibly be assured some sort of a spot for next year and beyond, so he's not stuck in the minors. Obviously, this is a player who's a pretty high-end prospect. He's proven to be an elite defenseman at the college hockey level and looks to be, the real deal here, that he could jump into the NHL and have a pretty good impact on an NHL club. So it is quite a possibility that the Carolina Hurricanes might decide to trade him rather than risk losing him for nothing. If he returns for his senior year to Harvard, he could become a free agent next summer and not even end up, signing with the Hurricanes. They might lose him for absolutely nothing. So they would be better off to trade him now, even if it only means getting a smaller return, maybe a second-round pick, third-round pick, maybe a third-round pick and a prospect. Hard to say what the return would be, but for a player who's not signed, not established, certainly wouldn't be a huge return, but it would be better than losing him for nothing next year. So hard to say what's going to happen. One of the teams that Fox is rumored to be interested in going to would be the New York Rangers, and they very well might handle this as a case where him and his agent might kind of be allowed to talk to other teams like a free agent would, kind of find a situation that's good for him and let the Carolina Hurricanes possibly work out a trade. But obviously that's going to mainly be teams that are not in the playoff hunt. Obviously right now we're past the NHL trade deadline, so anything like that would happen would make him ineligible for the playoffs. Most NHL teams only have 2 to 3 games remaining, so there's not a lot of time to possibly sign him and let him burn a year off his contract and get into some action here now. So the other option could be that it's a future dated contract that kicks in next year. This is a lot of different scenarios running through here, but the Rangers appear to be at the forefront. And really, if you take a look at all the other non-playoff teams, many of them would make sense to be calling Carolina to find out what the status is, to see if they can get their hands on Fox, including teams like the Edmonton Oilers, the Ottawa Senators, the LA Kings, just to name a few, even the Buffalo Sabres. Yes, they got Rasmus Dahlin, Ristolainen, but that blue line could still use some more upgrades too. And there's many others too, so hard to say. Keep your eyes on Adam Fox and the Hurricanes. It looks as though he won't be going there, but we very well might see a trade here in the short term, or possibly that he might announce that he's returning to Harvard for his senior year, and he could become a very highly sought-after free agent next year. Now, jumping over to some trade rumors of things we might see during the offseason, I want to talk about Chris Kreider and Kyle Turris. Now, let's get started here with Chris Kreider of the New York Rangers. It's a player we've discussed before. Another report here from Larry Brooks in New York indicating that the New York Rangers are likely still kind of evaluating the decline of Chris Kreider, taking a look at his season here at the end of the year and determining what to do with him. There is some talk out there, according to Larry Brooks, that they really like to upgrade their blue line. There has some talk from Brooks that Kreider could be packaged along with a prospect or other picks or something, because they do have a lot of that in their system now, to maybe land a top right shot defenseman. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the Rangers were one of the teams that were reportedly high on Fox's list. So if Adam Fox went to the Rangers, even though he's not established yet, that very well might kind of change their plans there. It may not dictate whether or not Kreider returns to New York, but it might certainly indicate what they're maybe looking to trade for if they do decide to move him. But there's still a lot of belief with what the Rangers are going through here with this rebuild. They've continued to move out veterans, and Larry Brooks seems to believe here that Kreider more than likely is going to be one of the next guys on that list to be moved out. But right now, unless they get Adam Fox, expect him to be going after a right shot defenseman to likely make some upgrades on that blue line. And lastly, I want to touch on the Nashville Predators and Kyle Turris. Now, Before landing in Nashville, Kyle Turris was a very solid hockey player for many years for the Ottawa Senators. The 3 years leading into that trade, he was a pretty solid 25 to 27 goal guy for Ottawa. Usually hovered, 55, 60 plus points. Was, oftentimes their number one, sometimes their number two center. And was a very productive player, big time in the playoffs as well. But really, ever since that trade, his numbers have certainly fallen off this year. He did get off to a pretty decent start last year when he first landed in Nashville. When that trade first took place, things started really slow for Duchene. Started pretty hot for Turris, and then we kind of switched over where Duchene kind of took over being the hot player, and Turris really cooled off, and things have really cooled on ice this year, big time. He's done 7 goals and 15 assists, which is by far a career low, and at this point in his career on a team who's trying to be a Stanley Cup contender, that's certainly not good. He's also in the first year of a 6-year, $6 million contract, $36 million total altogether. So he's also got 5 years left at $6 million per year. So that's going to be tough for them to trade if they do want to go down that road. They're certainly not going to look at buying him out, considering how much of a penalty that would be over a long period of time. That's likely not something we're going to see. And you still have time for Kyle Turris to turn things around here as well. The playoffs could be a time for many players like Kyle Turris to really turn things around and really show that they're still the player they used to be, to kind of bring up their value, which could certainly increase the possibility of a trade this summer. Now, it's believed that Nashville was really highly interested in Matt Duchene, so these two players continue to be linked here, and that they very well might go after Duchene as a free agent and might have to move Kyle Turris to make room. I mean, the other big thing in Nashville this summer is going to be the Eoc Extension. He's only making $4 million. He's entering the final year, so he is eligible for an extension. He's been a good player for Nashville. He's their captain. He's likely going to be getting a long-term deal, 7 or 8 year contract. Certainly going to be a lot more money than $4 million as well. So based on cap projections, where the cap's going, where other things are going, they also have some other UFAs might have to look after. There's not going to be a ton of cap space in Nashville to go around, especially if they want to look at bringing a guy like Duchene in. A player like Turris might have to go. I mean, at least ideally, based on his production, would be the preferred route. But I guess, like I said, that's going to prove difficult. But do expect Nashville to be exploring opportunities here to move Kyle Turris. If he has a good playoff season that could bring up his value, it might make that more likely. And then obviously likely go after Matt Duchene as a free agent. Just kind of funny how these two players kind of remain connected, even though they've never been teammates here. But time will tell what happens. We'll see. There's also a lot of other players that are either pending UFAs or guys who have kind of been mentioned in trade rumors as well that certainly have an opportunity during the playoffs to really make a name for themselves or kind of reestablish themselves here to bring their value up, kind of increase things that might happen here over the summer. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Where do you see Adam Fox landing? Obviously, it doesn't look like Carolina's going to be the place to be. So which non-playoff team would make sense to make a deal for him now? And can you see guys like Turris and Kreider moving in the offseason? And where do you think would be good landing spots for them? And would it make sense for Nashville to try to move Turris and bring in Duchene to try to boost their top 6 forward group? If you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up before you go. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching. We will catch you next time.